Hello Fantasy Faithfuls and welcome to Football Breakdown here at CST Fantasy. In this fourth video, I'm breaking down some of the biggest points of the new CBA to help better your football knowledge, so let's dig in. For rookie changes, we have second round picks who are now eligible for what they call Proven Performance Escalator. This used to only apply to third round picks or later. What it means is that if you play a certain percent of your team's snaps, your first 3 years, you get a bump in your fourth year salary. Another way rookies can improve their salary is with Pro Bowl selections. This is not available to first round picks though, but will retroactively apply to the 2018 rookie class. There's no longer a difference in the fifth year option for players in the first round. The new CBA treats all first round picks the same, and the fifth year option will be based on performance and can go as high as the franchise tag for the player in question. Furthermore, if a team uses the fifth year option, the paycheck is not fully guaranteed at the time it is exercised. This option still has to be picked up before heading into the fourth year, meaning teams might be a bit more careful with it than before. For roster sizes, team sizes go from 53 to 55 in 2020. Teams can also add 2 new players to the practice squad, taking it from 10 to 12. This has no effect on the cap. Lastly, the active roster on game day goes from 46 to 48 players, which in my opinion is not enough, especially since one of those players has to be an offensive lineman. The post-June 1st cut designation is back in action, so teams can use that to designate a player in March to be treated as he's cut after June 1st. This helps with dead money and gives teams more flexibility on the free agency market. Teams can only use one tag, either the franchise or transition moving forward, but these will get their own video later on in the offseason. For salary, one of the biggest changes is that we have a raised minimum salary. If a player has less than 1 year's experience, the minimum salary for the 2020 season is now $610,000 and will continue to rise each year until 2030 when it hits $1.065 million. Some teams will be hit harder. Teams that have smaller operational budgets will have to pay larger amounts to non-starter players and perhaps not be able to spend as much in free agency, even if they have the cap space. As the money also counts towards the cap, it will also hit teams with already low cap numbers, as this adds on average around $3 million in cap spending for each team for the 2020 season. Players will not be paid over 34 weeks or 36 once we move to 17 games. Right now, players are paid in 17 weekly installments during the regular season. The new system will allow them to collect paychecks for 8 months of the year instead of just 4. We have a new veteran salary benefit that allows a team to re-sign up to 2 of its own players per year as long as they've already played 4 years in the league. So $1.25 million of the individual player's salary will be excluded from the cap, meaning if a team re-signs a veteran player, they could potentially pay $1 million more than the competition for him without impacting their own salary cap. For the drug policy and suspensions, the new CBA will eliminate suspensions for positive marijuana tests, limit the testing period to the first 2 weeks of training camp, and raise the thresholds for a positive test, making it more difficult to test positive. And if a player actually tests positive, the test gets moved to a board of medical professionals to help decide if the players need help and treatment. For performance enhancing, we have the following punishments. A first failed test for stimulants will result in a 2-game suspension. A second violation results in a 5-game suspension. A first failed test for steroids will result in a 6-game suspension, and a second violation for steroids will result in a 17-game suspension. Manipulation and or substitution and use of a prohibited substance will land players an 8-game suspension. A change I am strongly behind is that suspended players now will be allowed to be at the team facility during the second half of their suspension period. I think it should have been the entire time, as some people need to be around the team to get through difficult times. We also have some changes to the training camp and holdouts. A player playing under a contract signed as a veteran who fails to report to his club's preseason training camp on time or reports and leaves the club for more than 5 days cannot have his fines waived by his team when he returns and will not earn an accrued season for that year. However, this only applies to veterans, with the text saying a contract signed as a veteran. A player under a rookie deal is not impacted by this change. There will be a limit of 16 padded practices in camp and no more than 3 in a row. This is down from 28, and it previously had no rules on consecutive days. Players can be on the field for no more than 4 hours per day between the 2 practices, and no practice can last longer than 2.5 hours. Players are not allowed to be at the team's facility for more than 12 hours on a given day, and that number goes down in increments for each season moving forward. When the league moves to a 17-game season, players will have a mandatory bye week after the third preseason game to rest before the start of the season. Teams are also not allowed to add any padded practices in the regular season when the 17-game season format begins. For playoffs, each conference will have 7 playoff teams instead of 6, meaning 3 wildcard teams and a total of 6 playoff games on the first weekend of the postseason. One key change: previously, players on teams that had bye weeks in the first round of playoffs did not get paid for that week, while players who were playing in the games did. That will change under the new deal. In 2021, players on division winners will get paid, and all playoff appearances will see raises that go up each year moving forward. These are my key takeaways from the new CBA. This doesn't cover everything, but the big changes that I felt were important to bring up. Let me know in the comments below if I missed anything huge, and thank you so much for joining me today. Check out more football breakdowns with my route tree, nickel and dime defense, and running gap videos for CST Fantasy. Till next time. Hello Fantasy Faithful, I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to check out more of them right here and here. In case you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a beat.